16, the Final Fours are set, and guys, we get to have more Caitlin Clark in our lives.
Hell yes. Go Hawks,
One out of
baby.
the three here is super excited.
National Player of the Year, best player in the country. Give it up. Give it to me all day, baby.
Hell yeah, that
You don't get
is.
to say
How
that
many
much
is
as a
that for
Hawkeye.
Iowa now? How many is that for Iowa in the last few years, men's and women's? Is that the third?
Third, yes. Gustafson, Garza, and now Clark. So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was just the best player who hadn't won the award yet.
Oh,
Not
I
necessarily
don't
the
think
best
so.
player, just she hasn't won it yet, so let's give it to her.
Well, when you're leading a mediocre team to a Final Four and you're putting up triple doubles with 40 points, first one ever in men's or women's NCAA history.
She's been riding Sinano to that glory this entire time.
Cesano didn't put up those 40 points or get the 10 rebounds and 10 assists. So
I say Cezanne.
Those assists don't count unless Sinano makes the basket.
Oh, someone else would. There has to be points scored.
No,
that has been my favorite part of the Caitlin Clark everything is like is that well she ain't making buckets. It's like she ain't making buckets. Well, she had 40 points. Yeah, but someone else had to make the buckets on the assists. It's like, but there's 10 of them. So like it is a never ending story. But yeah, that is probably the biggest thing out of all of our teams on the whole weekend is Iowa women's made the Final Four, which kind of led to the trivia question. Let me get it pulled up here. How many times has a team from Iowa made the Final Four in history, both men and women's?
How many times total?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Surprise, it's probably less than Kansas men's basketball.
Right.
No.
I'm going to go 4.
4?
I was going to say less than 5 with my range, but
well, I would say you both are close. Are close. That is it is going to be. This is the 7th time now. I would say the Iowa State men in 44, the Iowa men's did it in 55, 56, 90, the Drake men in 69, and then the Iowa women back in 93, and that's the list.
Fuck, I always forget about Drake, but I was thinking like recent Drake runs, but yeah, I wouldn't even have thought of that. Good question.
Not only has Drake not had a lot of recent basketball success, like making Final Four, Drake the artist, I don't think has he had any hits lately, Joey?
Just women, little underage women.
Ooh, yikes! Well, he's had that for a minute though. He always had that weird thing with 11. What the hell is that actress's name?
Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown. Yeah, when that stuff, she's like, she's texting me. It's like, aren't you 11? I mean, he's a.
That's just her name. It's not her age. Jeez.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think she was 14 at the time. It's cool. It's cool.
It could have worked either way.
I mean, if you ask Drake why, he just goes, "She's my buddy, guy." That's all he'd say. It'd be.
I'm so proud of you. Now it makes me wonder if that's what that song was about. Gross. Ew.
Oh no, we're gonna move on. Oh, you know what's even worse? I was gonna say we're gonna move on to talk about the Sweet 16, but that was probably why Drake went after her. She was Sweet 16, so no, I would say so. I would say we had a pretty good weekend of it. It seems like we've had. It's always like a day of great basketball, then kind of bad basketball, great basketball, and then it just like blowouts and stuff. Because we had a couple great games with first off the best game of the weekend, Alabama getting just beaten in the Sweet 16. Should have never. Oh, we're not going to keep breaking that down. They lost. The biggest frauds in the tournament until they join the Big 12 in basketball only. Gonzaga, they got eliminated in the Sweet 16. Texas, that felt kind of good from an Iowa State perspective with how Tyrese left to kind of see them lose. Kind of sucks that there's no Big 12 representation, but this has just been the biggest chaos. I mean, is this ever?
It's been
you, baby.
Great.
Hell yeah.
Brian, I had a question for you. Miller from Alabama. He's had a pretty killer tournament though, right?
Oh no, I mean, he was really good at handing it off in January, but March not so much. So
I feel like I saw a stat somewhere, and obviously it is super reliable because it was probably on Twitter. But did he have like one of the lowest point averages of anybody in the tournament?
I would say I think he had like multiple 3 for 17 shooting days. He had
it was not.
So it wasn't because he wasn't doing the shooting. He was just there still.
He was there, not the shooter though. He surely wasn't a shooter, or I would feel all right because he was not hitting crap in this tournament. But Joey, it was a tough matchup that I had to root for because it was Texas and Miami that played, right? Yeah, It was. Do I root for Miami, who you love, or do I root for Texas, our final hope of a Big 12 team in the Final Four? I don't even know if I rooted for anyone. It was just like I'm gonna lose either way, you know.
Well, and that's okay because you kind of won because it was an amazingly entertaining game down the stretch. Like there was a point when the over the back foul got overturned on Orshad, and it ended up being a foul on Texas. I was like, all right, Miami's done. It was a good run, and all of a sudden he went under him and excuse me. Made him fall to the ground that way, and it was on Texas, and Miami got the ball and was shooting free throws. I was like, hell yes, they're in this, baby. The U is back.
Now, because I've said we had our poll with our favorite sports weekends or sports events here, and I said first 2 rounds of the tournament were my favorite sports events. Think of 2 of the Final Four teams right now. FAU with controversial calls barely being Memphis in the last few seconds, they're in the Final Four now. You have Miami, who is down to Drake, I think, by 8 with 5 minutes left. They're in the Final Four. I mean,
I saw something the other day that Miami is the first team to be losing by double digits in every single one of their tournament games to make the Final Four. Crazy.
That reminds me of Iowa State football this year, except we never came back. We always just got down by double digits.
Except Iowa.
Yeah, that one. Oh man, we don't need to relive that, Joey. That was seriously. I don't think anyone was happy at the end of that. It was like Iowa State marginally happy that we won, but it was like we looked like absolute dog shit. That was.
Whew. I love that the easiest thing to get you to trigger is just mention the Iowa State game any year. It doesn't even have to be this year. Yeah. And you just start, Brian, never mind. Let's move on.
You know, if you guys look like dog shit, what do the other guys look like?
Cat badass shit, punters.
I will not eat the cow poop.
Now, with a tournament like this, because, I mean, that's what everyone has. You either love it or hate it right now. There's no blue bloods. Let me pull the bracket up here for people watching on YouTube. I mean, you have San Diego State, which Mountain West. Everyone told me pre-tournament don't count on the Mountain West, so I counted them out. And here we are. We have a team in the Final Four versus Florida Atlantic in the first game on Saturday. Which that one, awesome story. I just heard that their coach re-signed a good deal to stay with Florida Atlantic, so he's still staying loyal there. And then on the other side, you have Miami playing UConn in the second game here, which personally I think UConn's going to run away with it here. They've just been looking so dominant, but does not having a traditional blue blood, I would say UConn is like on the precipice of it. But do you enjoy these tournaments, or do you kind of hate it that there's not a Coach K or Duke or North Carolina to kind of like root against?
I got a question. Is UConn, is that still Big East, or are they ACC? What are they?
Big East.
So we've only got one Power 5 school here then?
Yep.
And that's Miami out of the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
The U.
I love it.
So you love it. I mean, obviously, if Kansas was there, you'd take that too. But no Duke, no North Carolina. That you're still going to be watching it just as hard.
Not a chance. I'm actually going to be going to a concert. So
that was great.
Well, Joey is someone who will watch it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm really hoping to watch it. I love this. I'm glad you touched on UConn being on the precipice, because I was like, what are they, a purple blood? Like, they've won national championships, and they've been good for decades, since Jim Calhoun was there with Emeka Okafor and Ben Gordon back in the day. Like, I mean, they're not from the 70s and 80s, but they are, even before that, Rip Hamilton, it doesn't matter. Anyway, in my opinion, they should be a blue blood, whatever. But yeah, I love it. I think that Miami is a tough matchup for everybody, and San Diego State plays hard as shit. And UConn, like you said, has been dominant. The only team I don't trust to put any bets on would be Florida Atlantic, and that's just because they shouldn't be here in the first place, and here they are, baby. So I love this tournament. I love upsets. I love at least one Cinderella story, and hell, we got probably 4 of them this year, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, when your highest seed is a 4 seed, that's all Cinderellas. Yeah, UConn is the most blue blood of them, but I mean, I will probably be watching this a little harder. It's always, I always contradict myself when I'd always be like, God, LeBron's in the playoffs every year, I'm not going to watch this. And then I think it was last year he missed. I didn't watch an extra single game, because it didn't affect me. This one. These ones I'm actually going to love watching, San Diego State and Florida Atlantic, because it's just like, how often are you sitting there, you're like, God, I need to see more Florida Atlantic in front of me at this point. Now you get to in prime time.
So I'm curious, were any of these teams in the top 25 before the tournament? Because there are obviously 12 teams who are ranked higher than even our top seed in this Final Four. That's half of the top 25.
Are you talking about it all during the year?
Ending the year, we're ranking the best teams out there. So what, the final top 25?
FAU was 25 in both polls. UConn was 12 and 10. Yeah. San Diego State was 18 in both polls. So yeah, so 3 of the is Miami. No, Miami's on. Yeah, all 4 were okay.
Yeah. UConn got as high as 2 this year. Way early on, and
interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, it's these ones kind of shock you with these teams being in here, but then it's like, should it? UConn was number 2 at some point, which UConn was the only one that I had to make the Final Four of mine. I think Joey only had Miami, but I mean, like I said, I've just been enjoying the hell out of it, not dealing with. Sorry, Clark. With last year was, I think we got blue blooded out. Kansas versus
you
Villanova.
Didn't want to watch KU versus North Carolina in the championship?
No, I was too busy crying in my own pillow because Iowa State lost. So
I'm trying to remember who the 4th team of the Final Four was, because I do believe
UConn, Kansas, Villanova, and then North Carolina Duke.
That I was thinking it was North Carolina Duke. Yeah, it was the ultimate blue blood championship last year, and this is almost the complete opposite. Again, UConn's one of those teams, as we discussed last week, that I kind of throw them into that pool.
Now, with Florida Atlantic and Miami both being schools from the same state in the Final Four, here's all of the other times that this has ever happened, with 2 teams from the same state in the Final Four. LaSalle and Penn State in 54. A crazy run, Cincinnati and Ohio State, both from Ohio, from 60, 61, and 62. Kentucky and Louisville, 75 and 12 in 2012. Charlotte out of nowhere, and North Carolina in 77. Duke and North Carolina in 91 and 22, which that one shocks me. I would think that would happen a lot more often in the Final Four. And then Baylor and Houston in 21. But I thought that was interesting, how few times that teams from the same state like this have made the Final Four.
It's funny you brought up the rankings and ratings and who's going to be watching, because as you all know, I listened to the Levitard show, and someone made a joke on there that if both of them make the championship game, there's a home Marlins game, and that's probably going to outrate the rest of their season average because no one's going to be watching FAU Miami from Miami.
You know who is going to be watching it though? The whole Conference USA. I don't know if you guys saw this, but they've had a crazy postseason run. We've been back and forth, Big 10 rah rah, Big 12 rah rah, most bids, most amount of teams. Conference USA has been fucking dominating the tournaments here. Charlotte won the CBI with them winning it. Then the NIT, both UAB and North Texas are in the championship. I don't remember if they've played or not, but that's a guaranteed Conference USA win. If Florida Atlantic wins, they can sweep all of the postseason tournaments here.
Why'd we waste so many picks on the Big Ten when we could have had more teams from Conference USA?
The NIT championship is on right now, FYI.
What channel? Because I've been looking for college sports on tonight.
ESPN2. I love that North Texas green, but screw you, Clark.
I mean, I'm gonna have to go. First off, North Texas just fuck UAB for knocking Iowa State out of the tournament back, I think, in 19 when we were a 3 seed. Mm-hmm. That put a damper on my whole tournament. I mean, when did Kansas lose to, like, it was like Bucknell? They've had a couple of first round exits, but do you remember what years those were, or like what time of day it was?
Not at all, Bryant.
What time of day?
The point is, well, the reason I say that is because it was like Thursday. We played the first day of the tournament, like a whatever noon tip off. I got busy at work and I was like, well, it's UAB. We're going to be in the next round, obviously. And it was like 4 minutes left and they're down by 8 or whatever. What the hell? My whole day, from like 2 o'clock on a Thursday, it's like, oh, cool. So my tournament's done and now we're one of the biggest losers in the tournament again. And everyone brings up Hampton jokes and laughs at the poor Iowa State fans. But it was just like one of those, like, God, I just wasn't sure if Bucknell. I felt like that was like a primetime game. So at least it was like you got through work, no one brought it up to you, and you just could kind of go to bed immediately after, you know?
I'm going to try and find it.
But
March 19th, 2005.
Does it happen to say a time at all?
8:40 p.m. Yep, p.m. game.
See, I knew it was a late. I just felt like it was a late game because, like, you couldn't make fun of it with kids at school, you know.
Right.
But yeah, that is the worst feeling, is losing in that first like hour of the tournament. You just rip your bracket in half because I had them in the lead or something. You know? Yeah. Well, I mean, no offense, what Joey will get mad at us when he comes back, but it's like him watching Arizona. It's like losing to Princeton in the first round, and it's just like, cool. So they were in my finals. It just.
That was my champion, and they're gone.
Yeah. Every single year it's like that, unless I'm picking Michigan for some reason. They're the only people I get right for the finals. But going back to that Kansas upset, that's back when I would have been a junior. Yeah, junior in high school. God damn, was there any time better than watching March Madness in the library in between your breaks? And all the teachers would be like, all right, you get your work done, you can go to the library and watch, or you go to the Commons and watch the basketball tournament. It was just so much fucking fun.
I mean, and that was before, like, hey, P2P, and you could have multiple screens. That was when, like, the Iowa game is in the library, and the Iowa State game is down.
Everybody was sitting in their own corner watching the game.
Oh yeah.
Shit, and say that's probably now. I mean, when I was in school, it was just I had the flip phone, so it was seriously like, oh yeah, they're watching it in the chemistry room, so everyone sprints off.
You couldn't even check the score on your phone.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That was probably what we were doing, was refreshing ESPN for the latest updates
on dial-up service.
Yeah, with Netscape.
Exactly. So,
oh man,
but with the Final Four matchups here, Florida Atlantic opens as a 2-point underdog to San Diego State, over under 132 points. Who are you guys feeling in that one?
I think San Diego State's got it.
Yeah, if I'm picking with my brain and not my heart, I'm going San Diego State. They're super fucking physical. They've just out physicaled everybody they've played so far. I think they do the same to a very undersized Florida Atlantic team, but listen to a few interviews by their coach and stuff this week. Like they're ready. He's pumped. They're in a good spot. They're basically got nothing to lose, so they're happy.
Yeah, and to be honest, as much as we loved it, I mean, if you're going to push around an Alabama team that really took care of business with everyone this year, they had a couple slip ups, but I mean, I'm going to take them over an FAU that has had some controversial cards go their way, but that's the whole NCAA tournament. I agree. I feel like if I'm going to put money on it, I'm probably going to put San Diego State winning it. I might take a sneaky under here, man. I think it's just going to be one of those low scoring games. Just how San Diego State has made it through this whole tournament.
Could you say that they had stared down the barrel against Bama and lived?
Oh, jeez. No, I asked if it was a controversial Glocker charge. You never know with Bama. So, Jesus. Well, rest in peace, Bama gun jokes. Because I would say now they're out of tournament, we don't get any more now.
Yep.
But,
yeah, they got in the getaway car and got home. So,
Bryant, are there any meteorites that you are still hoping to strike NRG Stadium, or are we clear for the weekend?
We're clear now.
Okay.
We're clear now. One of my Final Four teams made it, so I'm happy. So
there's no Alabama. There's no Texas.
Oh, and honestly, I feel good about it. This was the best tournament to have the Cinderellas make it, as well as when I went a little. I went a little Schadenfreude. I put all my villains that I didn't want to see in the tournament. So when Duke didn't make the Final Four, I was like, okay, good, they didn't make it. Texas didn't make the Final Four, good, they didn't make it. Alabama, it felt good because if they would have made it, at least I'm getting some financial gain, or winning the bracket pool or something. But I mean, that's just me being a man-child, allowing sports to alter my whole mood for a 2-week span, But
what else
those are the kind of mental tricks you got.
Oh, we know it's not just 2 weeks of the year that sports alter your mood. We know better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, sorry, just sports. This tournament is just a 3 week span. So.
We're not there yet. We've got a couple weeks, but is there anything left after basketball, or is it like a long haul to football?
Long haul, unless you're into baseball, college baseball, which I'm never.
It's not even an Olympic year, is it? We don't even have the Olympics to distract us.
Nope, just NBA.
Ugh.
And the faster MLB now with bigger bases.
It could be more exciting.
Yeah.
I could tune in maybe.
Saw their games are a half hour shorter now.
Wait. Is your favorite team your local team? Because you're not going to be able to tune in. It's blacked out. You can't watch it.
Yeah. Well, see, I got to do with what Jaeger in here. He's saying go Atlanta Braves. That's the team I got to watch. I can't watch no Cubs, Twins, White Sox, Royals, Cardinals. I can't watch any of them in Iowa. So
you're supposed to be at all the stadiums at the same time to watch the games. Why would you want to watch them from your home?
I'm just a cool minimum 4-hour drive plus $200 in tickets plus $40 in parking. It's just that simple. I have all the time in the world. So, Miami 5.5-point underdogs versus UConn over under 49.5 points. Joey, who are you taking?
I'm gonna take UConn to win it. I think Miami has been very, very fucking good. They had to have a perfect game from Andrew Miller. Andrew Miller. He's their player. I was thinking of the guy from fucking Alabama. Anyway, but he was perfect from the field, perfect from free throw stripe. First player in NCAA basketball history to do that ever. So that's awesome. Shot 100% for the game in an NCAA tournament. Anyway, but yeah, they've had to play absolutely perfect to get to this point. Barely beating Texas. I think their luck may run out. And like you mentioned before, UConn's been very dominant lately, especially with that fucking drubbing they put on. Yes, Gonzaga. Hell yeah, get them motherfuckers out of here. But yeah.
It was like kind of haha, oh man, they're getting dominated. In the end, it's like you felt like I was feeling bad for Drew Timme at the end of it, dude. Right. I mean, I don't even what would you call that? Is that a shellacking? Is that a drubbing? What would you call that?
Ass kicking.
I mean, I think that's just annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's got to be you won by so much. It's just embarrassing for the other team. It wasn't even a fun basketball game to watch unless you hated Gonzaga. So Trent was absolutely loving it.
Well, yeah, I was watching it. I was like, I'm trying to turn the controller off just like I do on 2K, but it won't shut off when you're down by 20.
It's just the screen comes up, your opponent has left the game.
Exactly. Exactly.
Stop! They're dead already.
I agree with you, Joe. I think UConn covers on this one, and I mean, I'm trying to think with the score that's about 78 to 72 roughly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
pretty high scoring.
That's going to be a tough over to hit.
I'm taking Miami.
Miami?
Yep.
Covering or to win?
To win. They had the tougher matchup, so they're better prepared for this game. Whereas UConn was coasting against the old WCC conference opponent who frauds shouldn't have been there.
Who was the biggest star left in the tournament?
Caitlin Clark.
Well, hold on, you're getting ahead. There's a transition here, Joey.
She's so big, that's all the men are talking about during their games. I mean, it's like, oh, Caitlin Clark's over there.
Yeah. I mean, because me personally, I think it's Isaiah Wong, right?
Yeah, he's the only conference player of the year in there still, I think. I would say him or Rashad, one of the two.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Now, here we go, Joey. The transition. The reason I asked that is because, everyone we're hating on Blue Bloods and loving the difference in this tournament. The women's tournament kind of has it all right now because they have their biggest star, National Player of the Year, Caitlin Clark, in the tournament, playing the best team in the country right now. South Carolina, I think 42 straight wins. If you look at the women's tournament, it's kind of like the men's tournament last year. You got your traditional blue blood with South Carolina in there. You have a newcomer in Iowa being in the Final Four. They've been kind of on the precipice, but they finally broke through. And then you have LSU, who has been good, but you got Kim Mulkey, who's probably the other than Don Staley, the biggest coach left here. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where it's kind of, the women's tournament. There's been so much coverage of it. One, I think on part of it's ESPN's product right now. So what are they going to push? They're going to push their own product to be on the screen here. But, when you got your biggest star, your best team, the biggest, I put in quotes, villain, because I know a lot of people hate Kim Mulkey. But, I mean, when you have all that star power on the women's side, that's what makes it look like it's such a runaway, look at how big the women's tournament is now. Because you have a bunch of, no offense, nobodies on the men's side. And the women's side, you have everyone that you expected to make it that far.
Yep, I agree. I like both sides of the tournament. And you mentioned, Caitlin Clark getting pushed because of being on the ESPN products and stuff. And I agree. It could probably rub people the wrong way, especially if you're a South Carolina fan. I mean, they're on the precipice of having an undefeated championship season. That's awesome. They're a great fucking team. So I'd be pissed if I wasn't getting that. But they're also, I mean, they're gonna push their biggest stars. That's why they push LeBron James, even if he's on a losing team. Like, he's a huge star. Everyone knows who Caitlin Clark is, type of thing. Patrick Mahomes is tweeting about her. So, perfect. I didn't even know you made this graphic.
I was just gonna say, you said LeBron James, and that couldn't have been more perfect. I saw this picture like a week ago. It's a picture of Caitlin Clark shooting a basketball on fire, and LeBron James with the emoji eyes over, looking amazed. That was perfect, Joey. But
are those butt cheeks at the bottom? Like, is it supposed to be like a woman's bent over or something?
Oh my God. No, it's not. It's supposed to be two basketballs, I think. But now it looks like a voluptuous buttocks.
Yeah.
That you're overlooking.
Yeah.
Oh. Huh. The clap back on that. Whew.
Man.
The back shots would sound incredible.
Jesus.
But no, I wanted to ask this because we have an Iowa State fan who I feel the coverage has gone way over. I mean, it wasn't the women's tournament. It was Caitlin Clark's parade of basketball games on the way to, the Hall of Fame. That's the only logical way I could see this ending. We have Clark, who has no stake in the game with Iowa State, the Cyhawk, where I think he's getting pushed the most. And then Joey, obviously passionate. You have the best player in your team, so you can give a fuck if what anyone says,
But I also understand, that it would get annoying, and then it also kind of takes away from those other teams. Like, we didn't even mention Virginia Tech when we started talking about them, about the Final Four. Like, they're just an afterthought. And they're one of the 4 best teams in the league or in the nation. Like I understand. I wouldn't get tired of hearing about Caitlin Clark, but I do understand the frustration of everything being centered around her. That's kind of bullshit to me. Like, prop up the other 3 teams as well, and the rest of Iowa. Like, if you don't know who Caitlin Clark's teammates are, it's because no one's pushing them. No one's telling you who they are.
Yeah. Well, like we kind of have jokes last week. It was like Caitlin Clark and the rest of them. I mean, that's what it feels like.
Right.
That's where it just I don't need. What the crazy thing is? So and speaking, we talked about Virginia Tech, number 1 seed. LSU only has 2 losses, and they're not even in the conversation. It is whoever wins this game is going to win the national titles. What everyone's thinking. With South Carolina's 42 straight and Clark and the Clark eyes, that's where it's just felt like the coverage has been so crazy that like you said, it is kind of unfortunate for the other teams where they're not even being looked at, but you never know. Maybe those teams would prefer to not have the spotlight on them, and they just can kind of do their own thing with no one really, hammering home on them.
Yep. CC and the Funky Bunch is taking all the highlights.
There you go, and the Funky Punch. For the spreads, LSU 2-point favorite versus Virginia Tech over under 134 points. I don't know. I'm just gonna root for LSU. That's Ryan's team. Got to root for the villain with Kim Mulkey. So, and then
I'm just tuning in to see what she's wearing.
Right.
Oh yeah, she killed Dalmatians round 1. Flamingos in the Sweet 16, I think. What exotic animal? I think it's peacocks. I'm going to go out. It's going to be like a peacock feather type. I think she keeps the exotic animal thing.
That's
nice.
Yeah, that's probably a good guess there, Bryant.
Now, this is the craziest thing I've thought. We've heard Clark and the Clark guys, National Player of the Year. I was a 12-point underdog versus South Carolina over under 149 points. I mean, maybe I have just fallen into the Clark eyes, but how is Iowa a 12-point underdog, dude?
Because it's one of the best teams in history that they're going up against. South Carolina is very fucking good. That's why. I mean, you can have the National Player of the Year, and that's what it says. Like, if South Carolina makes it past Iowa, which they probably will, and that's who I would pick if I was betting, they're going to steamroll everyone else left in the tournament too. So,
I don't believe in South Carolina as much, Joey, because I bet on them to cover 49.5 points versus Norfolk State, and they couldn't even do that in the first round. They only won by 32 points. What kind of fucking jokes are they?
I don't know, man. That sucks.
$5 down the drain. I'm never going to get it back.
That's right.
But yeah, I'm going to be optimistic. I think South Carolina wins. I'm going to say Iowa covers. They keep it. They lose by 11. How about that?
That's how I would bet it too.
Over under. How many times do you hear Caitlin Clark's name during broadcast?
Oh, that is because you're going to have the organic, like Clark with the score, and then you're going to have the everything else National Player of the Year. I wonder, like, what would an average amount of times in a game be? Because, like, is 30? It out of line to say they would mention her name? She scores 25 points. That's 12 buckets. That's 12 times we have mentioned Clark. I mean, would it be upwards of like 150 times? Clark.
Jesus.
Someone get a Clark.
I was thinking 30 was a lot, but fuck yeah, you talk like 150 numbers. That is a lot.
Yeah, now once you start to break down the 41-point performance.
You're going to hear her name 30 times in the first quarter, Joey.
Right. That's probably true.
Trent's going to think he's watching Christmas Vacation as many times as they mention Clark.
Sparky.
Oh, shit. Last thing I wanted to end on this one. We didn't have too much because we're down to, again, the final 4 games, or final 4 teams here. But with the Caitlin Clark, there's been a huge amount in Cyhawk. Iowa State is jealous of the coverage of Caitlin Clark. Is what it is, National Player of the Year. But there's been a lot of Iowa State fans openly going, I'm not going to root for them. I don't know if they're going to not openly, root against them, but I'm not rooting for Iowa. And a bunch of Iowa fans are upset saying, you need to, this is a state of Iowa. You need to have Iowa pride. To which I will open up to you. Do you root for your biggest rival when I understand with if you're not playing them and there is no way that it benefits you. Like in college football, I'm going to root for Iowa every game afterwards because it's going to improve our strength of schedule, But, then once it's bowl games, then it doesn't matter if you root for them. Do you root for your rivals in these situations?
No. With my main rival being Nebraska, I do not, because I hate them, hate the whole fan base so much. Now, individual wrestlers and stuff, like I won't root. I want the players to succeed because I never want the players to be, downplayed. But I hate their fan base so much. So I'm going to go with a no, but yes for the players type of thing. I don't know. I don't want to answer that. But like Iowa State and stuff, I always cheer for Iowa State whenever they're not playing Iowa.
Okay.
Bryant,
yeah.
If Kansas State was in the Final Four, I'd be rooting for them because I liked that team. I enjoyed Marquise Knoll. I liked Jerome Tang. Those people made me like them. If I was from Iowa, I would not be rooting for the Hawkeyes because I think Caitlin Clark is arrogant, cocky, and a bitch. And I don't like her.
Oh, Jesus.
That's my opinion. She thinks that everybody's there to see her and that nobody else matters. So that's why I'm not rooting for them. I don't like her.
See, okay, so I can see that as well then, because like I think as you mentioned, it determines this isn't just it's a blanket. This is Iowa Hawkeye, so I'm not going to. This one goes more into the whereas Joey was the opposite. The players might be the thing that pulls them in, whereas they're pushing you out. Now, I kind of agree with that. My cynical mind where I'm going to root for Houston because if they win a national championship, that means it just transfers to Big 12 next year. Somehow it's going to help me out in the long run, But if there's nothing to tie in remotely, this one, like I said, take this the right way. It's women's basketball. I could care less. The only reason I'm even interested is because Iowa's in it, But if they weren't, would I care if it's South Carolina versus Louisville? No. I would not be tuning in.
I mean, how much did we talk about the women's tournament last year on this very podcast? Barely at all.
Just as much as we talked about women's volleyball. Remember when we tried to do that tournament?
Well, two of us watched, but Ryan's not here. Jeez.
No, that's true. Well, as much as we did the USFL.
Yeah, exactly. We lost interest after the first weekend. So,
yep.
But no, I agree. I think when it's the biggest right, like everyone just, us included, we look for a reason to be upset about something. Who the hell cares if your rivals are rooting for you? That's what I think makes a healthy rivalry.
That's the thing I was going to say about the Hawkeye fans that are pissed off the Iowa State fans. Who gives a fuck? Like, you just cheer for your own team. Let them decide if they're going to cheer for them or not. Like, fuck it. And if then people talk shit to you, then stick up for your team. Like, it's not that hard.
Trust me. Next year, there's still going to be Cyclone fans that go, hey, even though there's no lawsuit, you guys are still racist. You bought your shirt at Walmart. And then there's still going to be Hawkeye fans that go, hey, Cyclowns, hey, little brother, look at all-time record. And then the world will keep moving on. That's how it rolls. But yeah, I hate the people that put their nose in the air to every. Like I said, I let Iowa State dictate my happiness way too often. I'm not gonna let some fan that puts their nose in the air and go, I just hope everyone has a good time and sportsmanship. Fuck you. I want to be mad. I want to cheer against this team. I want to cheer for my team only, and I can care less.
So if the Hawkeyes win, is that going to help them pay off this recent racist lawsuit?
No.
Word on the street is they're just going to fire Brian Ferentz, and then it's all paid for. But wait, no, that was my wet dream I had last night. My bad.
You know how that works though, Clark. Every time it's like, well, what about the? No, that's a different account. We can't take money out of there. What do you mean? Something to the Universe Iowa? No, that's the accounts payable. Sorry, bud. We can't take it from that one or whatever. So They gotta practice those the what is it, Joy? GAAP, the good accounting practices.
Yep, that's right.
There we
go.
They
take it out of the football budget.
From the basketball budget. I still remember some stuff from College of Business, but all right, boys. Well, we kind of got a short one here. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
What she said.
Or should we wrap it up? Oh shit!
4 inches of fury.
Well, let's wrap it up here. So, at Pat Summit for Life, the women's Final Four expert. You want to give us our socials here, quick?
Yeah, on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. Jesus Christ.
There you go.
At Heartland Pulse, and then just search us on Facebook and YouTube, Pulse of the Heartland. Sorry, my brain is all messed up from sneezing all day, so forgive me. But yeah, at Heartland Pulse, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram. Just search Pulse of the Heartland, YouTube, and Facebook.
Make sure to log into that Instagram. That shit's popping off. A lot of good stuff going on there.
Damn right.
I don't even want to know what our last post was. Probably what, NFL.
I think the boys did the struggle for par last night, and that's out too.
Oh shit, yeah.
And they posted a picture last night. But yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah, we can get a good look at River with Ryan's golf bag.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Then I'm going to skip that because that doesn't count. Before that, it's probably been a minute, but be sure to check out their struggle for par. That's going to be out. I know they're going to be doing more of that. Otherwise, yeah, I will probably have the breakdown of the national championships next week, and then we'll kind of determine the future from there. But we're probably going to be dropping off amateur hour a little bit until there's more large news like spring football.
So you're not going to cover the College World Series and college baseball.
I'll leave you that. I'll leave that to you, Seamhead.
I think it's going to require some on-field investigating, so we should probably have a boys' trip to Omaha.
Ooh, okay, yeah. Go to Omaha, get a couple beers, and watch Mississippi State beat Cal State Fullerton. It'll be a blast.
You got to watch out for the T-Sun, man. School up north. That's code. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. But all righty, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll catch you next week.
Peace out.